guys, it's Jessica from Pisa Books, and today I'm here with my December mid-month wrap-up. I do have my new Grinch Christmas sweater on that I'm obsessed with. My sister had some Kohl's Cash and 40% off, so I was like, let's see if there's any cute Grinch Christmas stuff, and there was, so I had to wear it today. But I am here for my December mid-month wrap-up. I've read 8 books so far this month. This is just me chatting through all of them, and I have 4 Christmas books and 4 non-Christmas books, which I didn't realize I'd read that many Christmas stuff, but we will go ahead and get to it. So the first book I read was for my book club that I run with Samantha from Books with Samantha. That is the Historical Hellions. We read books published before the year 2000 that are historical romances. We read the OG iconic The Flame and the Flower. This one is by Kathleen Woodiwiss. This is not our first Kathleen Woodiwiss. We read Shanna, which I, looking back on it, really loved. So I actually have a reading vlog for this, and it was an interesting read. So this one is the definition of a bodice ripper, okay? She is ravished by him and assaulted by him. She does not want it. He thinks, though, that she is there consensually, even though she says no, and then he realizes his error and was like, well, you know, it already happened, so you're just gonna be mine now. She is very I'm just going along with life. I have no agency. I have no control. I'm just gonna be controlled by a man. And so I thought that was very frustrating because Shanna is the opposite of this heroine. And considering that this one, a lot happened in it, like this started out in England and then they went to America. Overall, this was just not what I was expecting. The romance was not sweeping. He never did anything to like deserve her or show her that he loved her, which I found very annoying considering that he assaulted her in the beginning, and I'm like, okay, but how are we supposed to believe he's a romantic hero? He's not. And the fact that there was so much that happened in here, but none of it was exciting and not a lot actually happened. So like I said, they went across the world to different countries and they went on a ship, and like normally really fun, interesting things happen. This is coming after we read Skye O'Malley, and I'm just like, nothing's happening. It was very boring. The heroine just sat around complaining and then all of a sudden woke up and was in love with him, and I was just like, no thank you. Lots of people in our book club loved it though. I was not impressed. I gave it 2 stars. Then I read If You Give a Grump a Holiday Wish List by Anne Einerson. That is a tongue twister. This one is a Christmas novella, and I was sent this from the author, and I'm giving this 3.5 stars, more so on the lower 3.5 because this one is a Christmas novella and the heroine is a workaholic, and it's because of her boss. So it's kind of like The Proposal, the movie with Sandra Bullock, where he is just this tyrant of a boss, expects her to bend over backwards for him, be available 24/7. So she actually missed Christmas the year before, and she's like, I'm going home for Christmas. I'm blocking off 2 weeks. You can't say no. So Christmas comes around this year and he's like, I need you at a meeting. And she's like, no, I'm leaving. He's like, fine, I'm going with you because I need you. So he goes to her house with her and then decides to be her fake boyfriend, and then it goes from there. So it was just okay. Like, it was okay. And then the final, like, it was going on 4 stars, but there was a final conflict that I thought the heroine blew, like, way out of proportion. And I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal. You don't need to be mad at him about that. So it was there, like, to be a conflict as a 3rd act breakup kind of thing. So I wasn't the super biggest fan of that. So that's why it's 3.5, more so on the lower side. But it is just, like, a fun Christmas novella. If that's what you're in the mood for, if you want something that really reads like a movie, I would definitely recommend checking this one out. I have another one where I just feel like all these holiday novellas are kind of the same, where it's very much like a movie. The conflicts are kind of like over dramatic and resolve pretty quickly, and they have their HEA. So that's what this one was. Then I read The Christmas Catch, which is a sapphic Christmas romance. It was cute because one of the heroines has had a crush on the other one since she was friends with her sister, and so that was when they were like in school. And now they're adults and they are both trying to fly home for Christmas, and they recognize each other on the flight and they're like, oh my god, it's you. And like obviously they're both like into each other, but only the one has been into the other one for like ever. And so their flight ends up being canceled, and then they have to end up trying to get home together. So they meet someone who needs a reason to go on the way that they're going. It's really fun. This read like a Christmas movie, but like not in the kind of cheesy way. It was more so because like they had all these things they had to go through to get home, and then they got home, and then they're kind of exploring this relationship together, and I had a lot of fun reading it. I gave this one 4 stars. I think that it kind of lost steam once they got home, which is why it's not a 5-star read for me, but I really liked how they had a little bit of a history together, and they're trying to drive home together, and they're falling in love in the process. It was very cute. Definitely better than the other sapphic one I read last month. This one was definitely a better Christmas romance, and I would recommend checking it out. Then I read a highly anticipated romance, which is new, and I did actually a new romances reading vlog where I read a couple of these, so check that reading vlog out. I think this was actually the last one I read for the vlog, but it is Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura. This one is actually a debut romance, and the author wrote it as inspiration for The Mummy and Indiana Jones and Romancing the Stone, which is literally one of my favorite movies of all time. And so obviously I had to read this. I love action adventure stories. I love if they're archaeologists, and so I've actually gotten a few more that are on my TBR. Super excited to read them. I just love everything about an action-packed romance. I think that's why I love romantic suspense so much. This one, our hero and heroine have hated each other since college because they were rivals then, and something happened where they obviously like really liked each other back then, but one of them ruined it, and now they've really hated each other ever since. They've been building their careers, and the heroine is asked to go on this really mysterious dig, and she's not given a lot of details, but it's about something that she's literally dedicated her life to. She wrote her dissertation on it. She's very passionate about it. It's very close and near and dear to her personally too, so she is very intrigued. Shows up, and it's her rival who's in charge of the expedition, and she's like, heck no, absolutely not. He ends up talking her into doing the whole dig with him because he's like, I'm literally using your work as guidance, you need to be here. And so a lot's riding on it. He's going through a lot personally, especially considering things happening with his mother, and so he is very also personally invested in this dig. And obviously there's like very sketchy things happening with who is sponsoring this dig and how they're finding things and who's involved, but I loved all the characters involved. I loved them falling in love, discover where this place is that's supposed to be digging because they would need to find the remains of someone really well known in history, and not a lot's known about it. There's different things saying like versions of what had happened, and they don't know who's right, and she has her guesses, and so I had a lot of fun. I will say the romance was not my absolute favorite because the heroine was really crass in a way that was like not really realistic. Like, I vividly remember there was one line that he's like, oh, like, keep in mind, they're like 30 years old. He's like, it's hot as balls outside. And she's like, oh my God, balls. Your balls. I really want to sleep with you right now. So like literally they are horny 24/7, even when they were hating each other, and I would have liked that a little bit toned down so that there was like an even balance of a growth of their romance and them trying to work together professionally. But overall, they were trying to show their intense attraction even though they hated each other. It just was a little heavy-handed, but this was so fun. Highly recommend. I gave it 4 stars. Then I was invited to join the Teacups and Murder book club. We read 12 Sleighs of Christmas in this book. 5 stars. I more so gave it 4.5 because of the end, but this is a cozy mystery. I actually was going to start a cozy mystery reading vlog, and then I got really distracted by other reading, so I stopped that for now. We'll see if I come back to it, but this one is about a girl who's home because her fiance dumped her. She was supposed to get married like Christmas Eve. Now she's back home at her parents' Christmas tree farm, and someone ends up murdered, and this woman is part of the kind of historical society for the town, and she is super hard on everybody. She's like finding them, telling them they're not allowed to do things because they're not up to code of the historical accuracy of like what's allowed and what's not allowed, and she has been making tons of people in town mad and upset, and she ends up murdered. So the heroine is worried because it happens on near her parents' farm, and her dad's a suspect, so she's like, I gotta figure out who did this. So she actually helps the local sheriff, and there is a romance in here that was really, really cute, and I feel like really well done. He wasn't mad that she was helping out with the investigation. He was more so just worried about her safety, and this one was pretty scary. So they were talking about this had a lot more suspense than cozies normally have because this person was being like really, really like freaky threatening to her, and then like we just follow her along trying to figure out who did it and falling in love with the sheriff in the process. And it was like he would literally drop anything if he heard she needed help or like was injured. He's like, oh my God, I'll be there in 5 minutes, like just stay still, I will be there for you, which I loved. I will say like the person who did it was someone that was barely on page, and I really don't like it when an author relies on lack of information for the reason being you don't guess who the murderer is. So that's why I got 4.5 stars, but overall I thought it was super cute, super cozy, Christmas tree farm, suspense, romance. What more could I ask for? The next two I read because I'm starting something where I pull a book out of my jar for Patreon picks every single month that I do a TBR. So if you're interested, my Patreon is always linked down below. I had them submit books, put them in a cup, and I've pulled one out every month. So I was a little behind on November. I run on a trip and then I had a friend visit. So I was busy a lot in December, but I finally read that first pick and I read December's pick back to back. So the first one was Poison Roses by Tate James and Jamin Eve. This is a rockstar Why Choose romance, and it was so good. So typically I'm very picky when it comes to rockstar romances. I need a really, really good romance for me to really care, and I don't love all the like stereotypes of rockstar romances, but this one is kind of mafia too. So the heroine is really not in a good place in life. She can barely afford rent. She gets kicked out of her apartment. She needs a job, and she ends up running into an ex who's part of the mafia, seeing something. He's like, oh my god, it's you, chases after her, and she's like running for her life, and she runs into this guy, and this guy is like, you are literally like the most amazing woman I've ever met. He's like literally love at first sight, okay? Obsessed. He's like, I'm gonna do everything to protect you. She realizes he is part of the band of her other ex who hates her guts so much that he named the band after her and wrote every song about her. And she actually helped write some songs with him before, but he detests her and everybody knows how much he hates her, but she's falling in love now with one of the bandmates, and it's going to be a Why Choose with 3 of the bandmates. I don't know about that 4th guy that's her ex. Like, I don't know who all is going to be in this group, but it is so fun, and I really like her dynamic with them because also her ex, who's in the band, obviously still has feelings for her, but he like hates her so much and is trying to push her away, and it is so good. Lots of suspense in here as well because there's obviously people trying to kidnap her or kill her, and I'm having so much fun. I love this first book. I gave it 5 stars and I cannot wait to continue on. It is 4 books. I will try my best to finish the series because I still have not finished the one series that, I don't even remember what the first book is called, Honey Trap, the Guild series. I've only read the first 2 of that series, but this one I'm excited to finish because it was so good. Then I picked up the audiobook of Heatwave by Karina Howley. This was the December pick from my Patreon TBR jar, and this one had all of the things I love. It was very angsty. It is a dead sister's husband romance, but the thing that I really struggled with was in the beginning, we see our heroine meet the hero at a party for her parents. Her mom is like the mayor or something, and she immediately is like, oh my god, this guy's amazing. Like, they're so struck with each other. He asks her out, she says yes, and then her sister walks in the room and he completely forgets about her, goes after the sister, him and the sister get married. So I'm like, you literally met her first and already was like, nah, I'm gonna go after your sister instead. Like, he chose the sister over her, which I'm like, like, no. It wasn't even like, oh, it was like hate to love, like that angst I really like, or like maybe he was like too old at the time. He literally asked her out and then was like, well, your sister walked in and she's the pretty one and like she's the one everyone likes and like I'm gonna like her more too. So that was really hard for me to get over, and it was just fine. I mean, like, it was kind of cliche where it was like she had a sister who was like perfect and she felt overshadowed by her, and her mom never loved her because she loved her sister more, but like her sister really had secrets and she wasn't as perfect. So it just like felt kind of like been there, done that, and I was not obsessed with the angst because I was like, he already denied you. Like, he chose her over you, which made me very annoyed. So yeah, his reasoning also didn't even make sense. I was like, sure, okay, I don't know if I would forgive you for that. So this one was more like a 3.5 star read, and it went on a pretty long time. It was in Hawaii, which was fun, and she worked at the resort, but overall I just like couldn't get over that. So 3.5 stars. And the last one I read, I actually just finished last night, and it is A Festive Feud by Maren Moore. This is the other holiday novella that was very Hallmarky with kind of like over the top drama and conflict at the end. So this one, the hero and heroine hate each other. Their families are rivals. They have rivaling Christmas parties in town every year because one family has been in town for a very long time, always had their Christmas party. The heroine's parents moved to town, were not invited to this party, and we're feeling snubbed, and we're like, we're gonna create our own party, and created a divide in town. So the hero and heroine get into a fight in the grocery store, knock over like $10,000 worth of products, and get put in jail. And the town governor, mayor, someone is like, if you guys don't get along, you will have this on your permanent record and your lives will be ruined. So they're like, oh my gosh, no, like, we'll work together. And they're like, fine, the rule is you have to have a party together this year. So the book is them planning it. Like, it was really cute. I enjoyed, there's like snowed in, only one bed, only one night to get it out of our systems. We hate each other, but like the ending was just like very over dramatic and like like very Hallmarky, but like I love Hallmark movies, so like not in a good way, in a like a very cheesy way, and it was just what it was. Like it was not like the next best holiday romance. Like I read holiday romances that had great romance and angst of romances I love, and this one was just like, okay. So 3.5 stars, probably round this one up to 4. I liked it better than If You Give a Grump a Holiday Wish List, but overall it was like nothing too special. It was just fun. And if it wasn't taking place like during the holidays, it probably would have been a 3-star read. But because it was a holiday romance, 4 stars. And those are all the romances I've read so far in December. Let me know what you read and what else I should read in the last 2 weeks of the year. I cannot believe we only have 2 weeks left, but that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.